determine. So far, we've been able to establish that at a wrestling event not that long ago, Azeem the Dream, or sorry, I shouldn't say Azeem, he'll be our guest, but Cam went to a wrestling show and found himself spat on with water, I guess, that apparently damaged his camera in some way. And he got very upset about this and approached certain individuals in the wrestling promotion and said, "Stop spitting on me, I don't think you should do it, I don't think it's right." And then this brouhaha happened on the ECCW forums, where people were starting to call him an idiot and say, "You're being stupid. When you go to a wrestling show, you should kind of expect things to happen." And Cam got very offended and upset, and was on the show last week to just try and make his point. This week, we wanted to get the other side of that debate. So I'm joined in the studio, well, on the phone, I guess, with someone who always has something to say, is never afraid to share his opinion, whether it's right or wrong, and it's usually wrong. But nonetheless, Azeem, thank you for joining us tonight.
The pleasure is all yours, Fred. And I just want to say that as everyone is, before we get on topic here, everyone is just still kind of wondering the decision of the last Vancouver show between me and Rick the Weapon X as for the double pin.
That's right. And that's why we didn't have you on the program, and that's why we didn't have to raise your arm in victory. I was very disappointed at that result.
A lot of people are, as well as myself and Rick, and we are still waiting on a decision, as now the videotapes are being viewed by the NWA board, and hopefully we'll get this matter solved, as my Pacific Cup tournament spot is at stake here, as well as Rick the Weapon X's career. So the decision is still being rendered, it's still being under investigation by the NWA board. I just want to say, you clearly look at that videotape, I had Rick beat.
I've heard that. I've heard that you were kind of in control there the whole time, and it's just really unfortunate that you lost that match, or didn't win the match, I guess, because it was a double pin. That's really sad.
Well, I'll give credit where credit is due. Rick, I gave it to him, and he gave it right back to me as much as I gave it to him. But we're still kind of wondering on our decision here.
Well,
seeing out what's going to happen here.
You'll let me know when that verdict comes in, right?
As soon as somebody from ECCW lets us know, Fred, you'll be the first to know.
All right, that sounds good to me. Okay, let's get really quickly to this spitting issue. What do you make of it? Is this just all a bunch of blather about nothing, or should people expect to get spit on?
Well, first of all, spitting is, I agree with people, it's gross being spat on. It really is. Whether it's you're using someone's mucus or just some bottled water.
Right.
But the thing that really gets to me is, at rock concerts that people pay $50, $60, $70, even almost over $100 for a ticket to go see a rock concert at a GM Place or whatever, whoever act is on that stage throws water or spits water or whatever on the crowd loves it. But the second this happens at an independent wrestling show or something like that, we have always one or two people always complaining, blah, blah, blah. I don't come to the show to get spit on, blah, blah, blah. And it turns into a big brouhaha.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, are you equating the amount someone spends on a ticket to the amount of abuse they should expect to deal with?
No, I'm not saying that at all. But with any show, whether it's professional wrestling or a rock concert or whatever, you take that risk of going there and having something like that, especially if you're sitting in a front row seat. Now, if you look at the back of a ticket at an ECCW show, and this has been going on for quite a while since ECCW started running shows, you buy a front row seat ticket, you're waiving all responsibilities of sitting in that front row seat, whether a wrestler comes flying into the crowd or not, or even water being spat at you. You're waiving all responsibilities whatsoever. And the thing that really got to me is, I was looking like, him and I don't see eye to eye all the time, and he's been spitting water at the crowd, big deal, blah, 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 suck it up. The thing that really got to me is people are complaining that, there's microorganisms living in the water, and, that gets on the crowd, and the crowd gets sick. Let me remind everybody out there that British Columbia has the cleanest water probably in the entire world, and it's very, very unlikely that a living organism would be trapped in some bottled water.
Well, any public place is dangerous, to be honest about it. You could go onto an airplane and be in more danger by far than you ever would be in a wrestling gymnasium. But I mean, I guess the question really comes down to, there is no really, I agree with you, there's a disclaimer on the ticket. There is no legal, there's no legal remedy here for Cam to go. I mean, he didn't, ECCW has covered themselves from a legal standpoint, but have they covered themselves from a moral standpoint?
from a moral standpoint, it's disgusting to get spit on. It really is. But from a legal standpoint, it's just nothing there. Like Cam went on saying that he could sue ICE for assault. Now, the thing about assault is you really, really, really got to understand the law here. And I'll let you know on a little background on myself there, Fred. I have attended SFU in law and criminology for a couple of years there, so I pretty much know the law in and out. That is true. And spitting on somebody is not assault whatsoever. It isn't. It's nothing, pretty much. If ICE were to throw... Sorry, what was that?
I was just going to say, I agree. I mean, I don't think there is any legal ramification, but I guess what I'm saying is, from a moral standpoint, I think a video camera got damaged here. Is it one of those things where maybe they...
That's another thing here now, with either it's Cam or Malice or whoever. Now, everybody in the front row or whatever has been told several times, video recording equipment is not allowed at ECCW shows unless you have the permission of the promoters or the owners or whatever. And it's not just because of illegal taping, it's because of stuff like this that happens.
Right.
Video equipment, fans, it's most likely going to get, something's going to happen to it, whether another fan steals it or a wrestler goes flying into the crowd and something gets damaged. Why they don't allow video recording equipment inside the building. Now, Cam broke that rule, or whoever it was, I don't hear some Juan, broke that rule and decided to bring their equipment in there, but they take that risk. If something gets broken, too bad.
Right.
You've been told.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not saying that happens at every show.
Well, no, and to be fair, I mean, ECCW is very lenient with that. I mean, people do bring in their video cameras. They do film sometimes, and they take pictures and do the whole thing. And no one really seems to mind too much. I mean, ECCW has been very laid back, and, I have immense respect for everyone involved in that promotion because they've always been nice to me. And, they've been...
I'm going to put a stop to as well. I think you should be investigated by ECCW. I think you're a complete idiot, but that's another story.
Well, yeah, we'll save that for a different interview. But generally speaking, people at ECCW, even you came on tonight to answer these questions, are generally pretty good at talking about things. Why is then there's this brouhaha on the ECCW forums? Why do people care so much about this?
I think it's because someone's equipment has gotten damaged and it got blown up into some brouhaha, like you said before, and it's getting blown out of proportion, and people like, if you want to, for instance, Cam and Malice, people like that, they just really got to look at the bigger picture.
Right.
And, before they start, saying, I'm going to be suing ECCW or I'm never coming to a show again, well, that's your decision. If you never want to come to a show again, I feel bad for you guys that you're going to miss some of the greatest talent in the independent scene today.
Absolutely.
ECCW.
Absolutely.
I'm not just, putting myself over there. I know you don't agree, but I put your hero over Kyle O'Reilly and stuff like that. That's just too bad. You're not going to see them.
That's true.
But you know what? You shouldn't be complaining about nothing at all. You're getting great entertainment. You choose to bring in your video equipment as well. You're not supposed to, as we told it. Everybody, ECCW does that.
Right.
So you're gonna take that risk. And unfortunately, something did happen. And before people go spouting their mouths off, they really, really got to really understand the rules and the law, for instance, and stuff like that. It's unfortunate. It really is.
Is there any chance that ICE is going to stop spitting on people?
Oh, sorry, what was that, Fred? I missed that.
I said, is there any chance that ICE is going to stop spitting on people?
You'd have to talk to him about that.
Well, I'm going to be, actually. I'm hoping to get him on next week. I guess the question...
You should talk to him about that. I enjoy it when ICE spits on people because he's finally seeing the light about these people.
Well, you know what? I'm going to be able to tell you, I mean, for all the controversy about him, when Sweet Daddy Devastation used to go off on the little kids, I thought that was the greatest thing ever. And I mean, the kids would cry and they would get upset. But I thought it was great. I mean, he was someone, I believed in him 100%. He's a scary guy. Should the fans be able to influence wrestling behavior like this? Really quickly.
Define influence there, Fred.
Well, you mean like if Cam is able to convince ICE to stop spitting, that would be an influence. Should that be allowed to happen? Should that happen?
To a certain standpoint, there's a fine line there, and if a fan just kind of crossed that line, then expect the unexpected, right? Like there's a time, for instance, a fan had put their hands on me, and I put my hands on them, and subsequently the fan was ejected from the building. Right. You're a fan. You pay for a ringside seat. You should sit in that seat and enjoy the show.